Okay, inflow of FDI. Definition for FDI, foreign direct investment. When a firm invests directly in the production or another facilities over which it has effective control in a foreign country. Okay, then we call it foreign direct investment. Here, direct means that you directly invest in production or facilities in other countries. And you also have some effective control over that production or facilities. Then we call direct foreign direct investment. Okay? Which is different from foreign financial investment. Okay? Financial investment means that you purchase bonds or securities or stocks in foreign countries. Then it will consider as a foreign financial investment. It's nothing to purchase financial assets. Okay? But foreign direct investment means that you invest to build a factory, to purchase a machine over there, and you have a direct control of it. Okay, and then it's a foreign direct investment. And according to this classification of the foreign direct investment by the entry mode, and it can be classified as the manner in which a firm chooses to enter the foreign market through FDI. It can be entering by international franchising. Okay, that would be one of it. By franchising across the border, or branches. You establish the branches over there. Of course, you have to agree with the local legal settings or legal requirements to establish branches, or contractual alliances. So you have a contractual alliances with the local firms, or equity joint venture. Okay, you invest with both the domestic firm and the foreign firm. They put their fund and money together and invest to form a joint venture, which means that you share the ownerships with each other. The name is a joint venture. Or a wholly foreign-owned subsidiaries. You have 100% ownerships on these foreign subsidiaries. Okay, these are different forms of entry mode. Okay, and it depends. Okay, in reality, you observe these different types of entry mode, and some studies, the analysis of different entry mode may have different effects on the domestic market, especially from the so-called technology transfer point of view. It may have different results. Okay. For example, wholly foreign-owned subsidiary, you have a direct control, 100% control, right? Therefore, you can protect your technology being transferred to the domestic economy. So you can protect your own technology by having an foreign-owned subsidiary. Okay? It's pretty clear that you can protect your technology because it's owned by you, right? By you, therefore, you know everything is under your control.
It's not 100% protection, though, right? Because if you hire foreign workers in your factory, they'll know the learning processes.
Yeah, okay, yes, that's the specific part. However, you can still sign a kind of contract that once they employ in these firms, okay, if you leave within 7 years, for example, 3 years, you cannot be hired in other similar firms, something like that. Okay, so you can still have some protection, and this one, the foreign arms has the highest protections for the foreign firms, but it encounters some risks too, right? Because you are unfamiliar with the local business transactions, then you have to take a great risk by yourself, because you own by yourself. You did not share with the local firms. By sharing with local firms, for example, joint venture is another very popular form of entry mode. By joint venture, right? By forming a joint venture, you share risk with each other. And you take advantage of others. Right? By joint venture, local firms may learn some technology for foreign firms. Right? But by having a joint venture, foreign firm may pool the risk with the domestic firm. Because domestic firms, they are more familiar with the domestic environment and also consumer behavior, for example, and distribution logic, logistics and distribution management, for example. They know better than the foreign firms. Therefore, by forming a joint ventures, they share risk. Okay? So in real world, then, you can see that the joint venture local firm usually benefits from technology transfer by the foreign firms. So it depends on different entry mode, and from the different purpose, you can see that it is in the advantage of the foreign firm to choose different type of entry mode. Depends on the purpose of the foreign direct investment. Okay? Yes?
Excuse me. What's the difference between branch and only foreign home subsidiary?
Okay, a branch, usually, they are actually a little bit similar in the case of subsidiary may not be doing the same business in a way. You may, according to the supply chains, you may have a certain segment being produced in other countries by forming subsidiaries. Okay, to back up your major operations in foreign countries. And branches usually is doing the same type of operations as your home countries. You get it? Usually you have branches, usually is doing the same business as the parent company in foreign firms, in foreign countries. Then you said the branches, which is a branch, but doing the same business. Okay, but by subsidiaries, then it depends on the motivations. You may want to establish a subsidiary which is completely different from what you have done in your country. Okay? And franchising also. Franchising are usually either pay royalties or they franchise the brand names to the domestic firms so that to ensure, usually, so by international franchising, local firms, they want to take this advantage by having the brand name of the foreign country. Okay? And the foreign country would like to have franchising to expand its markets in the domestic economy. Okay? But usually, franchising has a difficulty in controlling the quality by the foreign firms. Okay, since you franchise it, of course, you may set up some standards, requirements, okay, for the franchisees. Okay, the franchisors may set up the requirements and standards for franchisees. Okay, but however, it is in foreign boundaries. Okay, therefore, sometimes the quality is not guaranteed. But for the branches, you can guarantee the quality. Okay, you have the ownerships and you fully control the operations. Therefore, the quality control is completely under your supervision. Okay, but by franchising, then there is a difficulty to maintain the quality because the monitoring cost is high. So it all depends on the purpose of the foreign investors or foreign firms. But however, you can have different entry mode, and they may end up with different results. And one thing that we would like to look at, especially from the technology speak over acquisition point of view, because for the local markets, technology is upgrading Okay, so and in this regard, we find that usually joint venture has the greatest benefits from the technology spillovers viewpoint. Okay, that's the basic more. And in investment approaches, it can be a greenfield investment, which means that you build a completely new facilities or factories, or it can be a cross-border mergers. Cross-border mergers, that's also happening quite often, and also cross-border acquisition. You acquire the whole company, or sharing an existing facilities. And these are all different investment approaches. Okay, so this is either through the entry mode or from the investment approaches. You can see these different kinds of foreign direct investment. And the strategic logic behind FDI is very important to understand this strategic logic, and then to know why and what foreign direct investment actually has an important impact on the domestic economy. The logic behind the FDI, first one is the resources seeking. Okay, looking for resources at the lower real costs. Okay, especially for resource shortage economy. Or the domestic production is not enough to satisfy the domestic needs. And usually you have to import those resources. Then to have a foreign direct investment, this is the foreign currency. Actually, you can secure the resources that are available for the domestic market. For example, China has a lot of outward foreign direct investment in Africa, in Brazil. Okay? In order to get the natural resources, oil or gas, from those foreign countries. Okay, so resource seeking is one of the logic, a purpose behind foreign direct investment from the parent company's point of view. And the other one is for market seeking. Okay, market seeking. To secure a market share, to extend your market to other foreign countries. For the secure market share and sales growth in target foreign markets. Then you have a foreign direct investment. Usually this is a very effective way to penetrate the local markets. Because usually under this kind of protection, country will set a high tariff rate for a foreign company, okay, to lower the competition against the domestic firm, right? That's the major argument for protection of domestic income, right? So in order to penetrate those kind of so-called trade barriers by having quota or tariff, right, against the foreign firms, increasing the transaction cost of foreign firms, to lower the competition against domestic firms, right? So the foreign firm can use this foreign direct investment for market seeking purpose. It actually establishes a factories, a subsidiaries, a branches in foreign countries. Then in that case, maybe you don't need to export, trade with the country, actually produce over there and acquire local market by your subsidiaries or branches, right? And in this way, then we say that you actually, it's a kind of tariff jumping. You jump over tariff by having a foreign direct investment in foreign countries. So it would be also becomes an effective way to penetrate the foreign market, to extend your market share in the global market. Okay? For example, Toyota have the Toyota USA in the United States, and therefore it did not to trade, it will reduce the trade surplus between US and Japan. But however, they can penetrate the US market by selling Toyota cars in the United States, because you use the firms or factories in there, and they produce the car and sell it in the domestic market. And it is also in the interest of the local firms, the local countries, because by having a foreign direct investment in your country domain, then it provides opportunity of employment for the local market. Okay, so increase the job opportunity, create the job opportunity for the local market. So this benefits each other. So market seeking is another purpose for foreign direct investment. And efficiency seeking, of course, efficiency seeking. Reallocate your resources, be more efficient in foreign countries. It seeks to establish efficient structure through useful factors, cultures, policy, or even markets. Okay, to have parts being produced in foreign countries, or outsourcing your parts in foreign countries. That's the efficiency because the cost is cheaper to produce in there, and therefore you lower down your cost of your parts, and therefore it considered as an efficiency seeking purpose for foreign direct investments. Okay, so efficiency seeking is also another logic, strategic logic behind FDI, and usually this is the most common one, as we say that foreign direct investment in foreign countries because due to the cheap labor effects, because the cheap labor over there reduce your production costs. So it's the efficiency seeking purpose to invest in there. That's the common foreign direct investment argument, right? So this is one. And another one is strategic asset seeking. Strategic asset seeking. Okay? It seeks to acquire assets in foreign firms that promote corporate long-term objective. That's from the corporate strategic point of view. Okay. By investment in foreign country asset, actually it will be able to hold ownership of the assets. Okay. For example, if a local firm is very competitive in logistics or distribution in the domestic market, then foreign firms, by foreign direct investment, to own the ownership of the logistic firms in the domestic market, then it acquires the valuable assets. The valuable asset of the local firm is the logistics and distribution management for them. That's the valuable assets. And by foreign direct investment, then you may acquire those valuable assets in the foreign firms, in the foreign firms. Like promote the corporate long-term objective. The corporate long-term objective is to seize or acquire the local markets. And you let this kind of logistics and distribution management, then you can make use of these foreign direct investment by acquiring these assets, valuable assets in the domestic market, so that it will fulfill your corporate long-term objectives. Okay? So that is also another important logic, strategic logic for the foreign direct investment. Okay, for the asset seeking. These assets provide a functional values for the corporate, and they would like to manipulate this by foreign direct investment. Okay, so these are all various purpose or logics that you can find from the real world why foreign firms want to invest in the local market. Okay, and this is the most common one that we observe or argue is efficiency argument. Okay, but the others, you may also find some example in the real world. Any questions? Yes.
Isn't the same kind of logic behind mergers and acquisitions? Companies in
Yes.
general
Yes.
do the same.
As we say that by entering more, you have kind of cross-border acquisition, cross-border mergers, and usually that kind of merger acquisition is in this part, strategic asset seeking. By merger acquisition, then you own these valuable assets, which is very important to promote your corporate long-term objective. Okay, so you can find many examples.
Like Lenovo, IBM.
Yeah, Lenovo, IBM, yes. For example, Lenovo, okay, acquire this IBM, especially they like the brand name. They don't need to develop their brand name, so they acquire these assets in the brand name of IBM. Okay, so yes, of course you can find a lot of cases or examples fall into different categories of the FDI. So you have to understand this category regarding about strategic logic behind FDI, then you will be able to explain why you observe a particular type of FDI and what's the motivations and purpose behind FDI. Okay, and also by looking at from the host company's point of view, and also look at the home company's point of view, you will find they are all benefits. They all benefits from this type of activity. Okay, any further discussion regarding about foreign direct investment? And we can also classify, you can see different classification depends on different dimensions. We can also classify FDI into two types, called defensive FDI and offensive FDI. Defensive FDI in a way that it seeks for cheap labor or aim at international markets. And technology transfer is more likely in this case. So usually you invest a kind of FDI which is classified as a defensive FDI from the domestic market point of view. Okay? Defensive is seek for efficiency, cheap labor, and more important, you are aiming at international market. You are not aiming at domestic market. That is why called defensive. And the major difference in offensive is usually you are aiming at domestic market. Okay, for example, carry jumping argument. Okay, you are more aggressive in a way that you are trying to acquire market share of the local market. Okay, so it's a kind of offensive FDI. You are aiming at the domestic market. As for your defensive argument, you are aiming at international market. You are not looking at the domestic market. And because you want to compete in the international market. And the reason you want to invest in foreign direct investment, because it's a efficiency argument, efficiency seeking. By seeking for the cheap labor, reduce your costs and increase your efficiency, therefore increase your competitiveness in the international market. Right? So these are two actually together. When you are aiming at international market, usually you try to acquire a cheap labor. And since it's aiming at international market, therefore it's defensive FDI. Since it's a defensive FDI, actually, therefore technology transfer is more likely. It's more likely. Okay, you are not trying to create local firms to compete with you. You do not have this kind of strength. Okay, but for the defensive FDI, for the offensive FDI, because you are aiming at domestic market, therefore these foreign firms, they are reluctant to transfer the technology to the local firms, right? Because they don't want to have a potential firms to compete with them in the future. If they are aiming at domestic market, okay, and tend to limit technology transfer to the local firms. Okay, so from here you can see that in order to have more technology transfer, usually you will welcome defensive FDI, just like China in the 80s and the 90s. Okay, most of the firms invest in China is to seek for cheap labor in China, and the major market is the international market. It's sale, it's export to the international market by those multinational corporations. So it's a defensive FDI, and not actually promote the technology transfer to the domestic market. Okay, but it's a kind of offensive FDI. Now we can see that the FDI changes from defensive to offensive in China, because now the Chinese domestic consumption market is emerging, right? And since this market is an emerging market, therefore FDI in China eventually will aim at the China's domestic market. And if that's the case, then it's offensive FDI. Okay? And in that case, then usually in the offensive FDI, you are reluctant, you want to limit or reluctant to transfer the technology because you want to apply your core capability to extend your core capability in the foreign markets. But you want to reserve your own capacity, or your own capability. By limiting the technology transfer to local firms. And you want to accelerate your core capacity in the domestic market. Okay? And that is what we classify as offensive FDI. And this is a very useful classification, especially from the technology transfer point of view. Okay? It's an important classification. Because all we think that FDI has two important roles to play in the economic development. One is for the shortage of domestic investment. Okay? So FDI actually bridge the gap between the saving gap, right, the investment gap by FDI. And the other thing is not only investment, the fiscal investment, bridge the gap of fiscal investment, also provide a channel for technology transfer to receive new technology from abroad. Provide this type of opportunity, but it depends on what type of FDI. If this time, then you have a greater chance to learn to have new technology. But if in this case, then it's limited. Okay? And you can find a lot of research that support to find to distinguish and find the result actually consistent with this argument. Okay? Any comments or discussion?
Actually, just a question from the management. How does the government calculate the entry of foreign?
What do you mean by calculate? In order to invest in foreign country, you need the approval of the domestic government. So the government will have the statistics for this.
How does the government differentiate the kinds of foreign direct investment?
No, the government didn't do that unless they have some purpose. Then they will set up the agendas and then restrict certain type of FDI if they think it's harmful for the domestic market or it is against the technology transfer or diffusion from the for the local firms. It all depends on government's purpose too. Okay, if government didn't aware of this, then it just open up the market and welcome all kinds of FDI. Doesn't matter. It depends on the purpose of the government too. If they want to emphasize more on technology transfer, then they should actually welcome the defensive type of FDI, not the offensive type of FDI. Because by offensive type of FDI, actually you bring in competitors to your domestic market. Okay? And this is the FDI in the 60s, as we just mentioned that at the very beginning of the 60s, we start open up, okay? And you will see that before opening up, actually the non-FDI low. Okay? After the opening up of the economy, then you open up the opportunity too for the foreign investors. Okay? So we start to have foreign direct investment. And for these 60s, okay, for the next following 10 years, you can see huge booms in foreign direct investment in terms of the amount. And you can also see that during this specific period, this blue bar is total, okay? And this red bar, the red color is for the overseas Chinese. So you can see, and this yellow color is for the foreign investor, exclusive overseas Chinese, okay? So you can see that at the very early stage, you start with overseas Chinese invest first, because they share the same language, culture, just like Chinese firms invest in China, the same way. Okay, the overseas is not from China. Okay, the overseas Chinese actually from Philippines, for example, from this Asian, Southeast Asian countries. Before at the 60s, those overseas Chinese actually they are doing pretty well in the foreign countries. Okay, so they start to invest in Taiwan first. So you can see overseas Chinese first. But gradually, as you can see, gradually after the 10 years, and it is the foreign firms which occupies the majority of the foreign direct investment, mainly the overseas Chinese. Still, you can see the amount is increasing. But for the foreign investor, it increased more than the increment of the overseas Chinese. So actually from this picture, it tells you a story that once you open up, you open the opportunity for the foreign direct investment. And usually it is the one that has has more closer tied with the local firms in terms of culture, in terms of language, in terms of their transaction behavior. Okay, you will start to observe that this type of FDI first. That is usually the overseas Chinese. Okay, and as the economy develops, then you can see that the economy develop means that it opens up the opportunity for investment. Then you observe that a lot of foreign investment flux in to the domestic market. So of course, this foreign direct investment played a very important part in the 60s, okay, especially during the early stage, lack of technology, okay, and also the capital investment is at the early stage, and these foreign investment help to bridge the gap of the investment gap. Yes. Yeah, from outward countries, okay, from countries like Philippines, okay, a lot of overseas Chinese in Philippines, and they are all from Fujian province in Philippines, and of course in Hong Kong, okay, Hong Kong means from Cantonese, the Fujianese in Philippines, Hong Kong, and Cantonese in Hong Kong, and some also in Indonesia. Okay. And the determinants of FDI, why they want to invest, and who invest. Usually, these just a classification. These are all important factors that we observe from the empirical studies. One is the transaction cost arguments. Okay, low transaction cost. The country with the low transaction cost will invest more. And also, transaction cost means geographic location matters, right? Your neighbors actually have a low transaction cost. Then country is far away, okay? So geographics usually, okay, location information. And the cultural types, of course, is important factors that classify fall into the so-called transaction cost, because you know better to each other. Okay, you don't have to sign a contract even among the Chinese. The traditional Chinese businessmen, they actually trust each other. Build up a kind of relationships. You don't need a formal contract. It's a kind of implicit contract. Trust. You make business based on trust. Okay? And that's a cultural type. Okay? Okay, and the business practice, of course. Okay, you know the business practice, then that will reduce your transaction cost. If you don't know, usually you pay a lot of tuition fee for that teacher to learn what's going on in the local market. So business practice matters. For example, you know, if you go by the back door, it's easier than go from the front door. Okay, then it's a kind of business practice. And local information, of course, if you know more about the local information, then you can do better in the business, in local business. And also entry barriers, the low entry barriers, the low transaction costs. Okay. And becoming the FDI corrupting, rent seeking. Also, the important determinants of FDI. If local has a lot of corruptions or rent seeking activities, usually it increases. It's non-productive activity, okay, corruption and rent seeking. Rent seeking usually is just a rent seeking, therefore it's not generate any revenues. Okay, it's purely rent seeking. So it's a kind of waste in the way. Okay, but usually in Chinese society, corruption may be a necessity. If you want to do some kind of business, actually, corruption can seen as an institution. It's set up institution arrangement. Okay, not facilitate the transaction. Without corruption, you cannot do anything in certain kind of society. And usually, in a society without legal protections, corruption is a necessity evil to stop the transaction. To smooth the transaction. Yeah, without corruption, you cannot do anything. But with corruption, then you can do some business. Which one is better? In that regard, maybe corruption is good. So, but as the economy develops, then you rely more on the legal arrangement. And if you have a better legal arrangement, or law and rules under the so-called democratic society, of course, it's more efficient than corruption. It solves the problem, reduce the transaction cost more than the corruption. But the very precondition is that you need to have a better legal system. But it's not easy to set up a legal system. But it's not too difficult to have corruption. So you can see corruption is also a kind of institution in the society. So corruption and rent seeking, in this case, then, if you want to have business, then you have to bribe with certain officials, for example, then you increase your cost. So here, for the foreign investors, okay, they are hesitant to invest in China, for example, at an early stage, because in doing the business, you need to bribe the certain officials in order to have your business done. And usually it's not in their culture to do this, of course. Okay, and in this case, then corruption increased. The hinder this foreign direct investment. Of course, another argument of important is political stability and the risk. Okay, risk can be in many ways, and political stability is one important argument. For example, in Taiwan, if we have political tensions between China and Taiwan, that generates kind of risk for foreign investors. And indeed, that is a key factor Okay, so the increasing political stability will reduce the incentive for foreign direct investments. So political risk or uncertainty. Okay. And across country usually is political stability and risk involved in doing business. And that will also a major factor determines the FDI. And of course, another very next regionalism. Okay? Regionalism, okay, we have some kind of regionalism, then members share some preferential treatment. Therefore, it encourages foreign direct investment across the members, among the members, but not the country outside the regions. Okay, it actually against non-members. So then, regionalism actually is also a factor affecting FDI. The last but not the least, actually is also very important, is human capital argument. Okay, why in the 90s, why those firms want to invest in China and Taiwan instead of invest in China? Or instead of invest in if you compare with the foreign direct investment in that period, I believe that we have more foreign direct investment in Taiwan than in Philippines or in other Southeast countries, because we have a better human capital. As I mentioned, we have two important human capital increase of human capital. One is the human capital inflow from mainland China after the retreat of the nationalists in 1949. Okay, a lot of, together with these government high-ranking officials. Besides this one, we have a lot of business and teachers and engineers. They came with the nationalists. So lastly, bringing an important human capital. For example, textile, many textile tycoon or businessmen came with the nationalists to Taiwan. Okay. So human capital. And later, as I mentioned, later the so-called 9-year compulsory education policy. Okay. First one, of course, is Japanese colonization. Laid down the first foundation for the primary school education, right? As we have in our previous days. And then later, in the late 50s, the KMT regime actually they also implement this 9-year compulsory education policy. As you can see that in the colonial period, as I mentioned before, Taiwan at that time, Taiwan is the most educated country than other Asian countries except Japan. Okay. So in terms of human capital, we have better human capital is the attraction for foreign direct investment. Because they invest here, they would like to have a high quality labor to operate with their capital. You can have a complementary effect between labor quality and capital investment, right? It's a complementarity between so-called capital and skill complementarity. Okay, and the not complementarity attract foreign direct investment to invest in the countries and not the other. Okay, so human capital is also a very important consideration for foreign direct investment. And of course, another one is the infrastructures. Okay, if you want to invest for the private investment, infrastructure is very important. If you have a good infrastructure, then that will attract private investment. Okay, and foreign direct investment, of course, is considered another type of private investment from abroad. Okay, so a sound and comprehensive infrastructure will help to attract foreign direct investment into the country. Okay, so human capital and infrastructure is also important. And infrastructure, as I mentioned, not only physical infrastructure, software infrastructure also considered. fall into the category of infrastructure like legal systems. Okay, better management, okay. And the bureaucratic, more efficient bureaucratic structure in the government. Okay, these all considered as infrastructure. Okay. Okay. Any comments? Yes.
Going back to the corruption point, is there empirical evidence that says corruption actually decreases at the level? Because you mentioned
Yes. Yes.
For example, Siemens 2 or 3 years ago got busted for a big bribery scandal, right? They had to pay billions of dollars. They seem to be using corruption very effectively to channel their investments. So I'm wondering if it's not.
But usually, yes. Usually, for foreign investors, you are not good at corruptions for the local market. In the local market, it is the local people, they know more, they know how, which one which one or which particular officers you have to bribe, right? The local firm, local people know more than the foreign investors. And the foreign investor has to pay a lot of tuition in order to learn that. Okay, so usually for them, and especially for those advanced countries, they are not familiar or not feel comfortable in having a kind of corruptions in doing business. Okay, they just feel uncomfortable in doing this, or against the moral, for example, something like that. Okay, so that will increase a kind of cycle, or the it belongs to a kind of transaction cost anyway. Okay. So usually, yeah, if you want to invest in other countries and you have to have some bribery in order to have your things been done over there, then of course that will be a barrier for you to invest over there. Okay. Any further comments or discussion? Okay. Yes.
A technical question for you. It is related.
Depends.
So reading on
the what?
political development of Taiwan, because corruption has always existed, right? Okay, it didn't start with the democratization process in Taiwan, but according to reading in the Lichtenberg era, corruption became more widespread because, to some extent, it was because Lichtenberg had to create its own power base. So he approached big business and local factions, and you know how local factions work in Taiwan. So, but my question is, your opinion, if this corrupt side at the local level, in local government, between business and politicians, is part of, would you say, is part of a Taiwanese way of doing business, or not?
Whether it's a way for Taiwanese to do business, is that Taiwanese businessmen, just like any businessman in the real world, they're just seeking for profits. So if your profits is more than you pay for the corruption, you always pay for the corruption. So it's a cost and benefit analysis. It doesn't matter if it's Taiwanese or Japanese or Chinese. So for businessmen, they just calculate the profits, what they can earn after the corruption, and the cost of paying the corruption. If profits is over the cost for individual firms, why not? For individual firms, why not? But for the society as a whole, it's a waste. Okay, it's a waste. Why? Because rent-seeking is just a redistribution from your pocket to the other's pocket. You redistribute the resources from one come from your pocket to the other's pocket. It doesn't actually create value added, not value added. It's just a redistribution of resources. That's why I'm saying rent-seeking. That's why or here, rent seeking is a non-productive activities and actually increase the cost, the corruption costs. If you can do the business without corruption, then you actually reduce the corruption costs. You reduce the rent seeking. And that will consider as a Pareto improvement for the society, welfare increasing. Okay? But however, if you cannot do the business without corruption, that's another different story. Because without business, it means that you cannot have the economic activities. And in that case, the corruption is considered as a necessity cost paid for, except the input costs. You still need to pay for a transaction costs for the economic activities. Okay, so it all depends. Okay, if you can reduce the corruption costs without still having the business being done, then that's fine. Okay, but if you cannot do the business without corruption in the real world, then maybe that corruption is necessary. But of course, as the economy develops, then you will try to replace the institutions' arrangement of corruption into different type. For example, into legal arrangement. As the economy develops, then you have the chance to do that. But at the very beginning, maybe it's necessary to have corruption. You have to have the business done first. But at that particular environment, you have to pay for that transaction cost, so-called corruption. Okay? That's my only interpretation for this all depends. It may not be bad. Sometimes it's a kind of, if you consider that as a kind of transaction cost. Okay? Any further comments? Not really. And in any way, just as I mentioned, okay, if it's an effective way to have the business being done, then there will be corruption. If corruption is cheaper, then following the rules, okay, or okay, in this way, okay, if you you try to bid a project or a construction project, okay, if you can pay to bribe a referee, and then you can get a project, but without the bribery, then you cannot get a project. From your point of view, if you get a project, you generate a stream of profits, and if that profits is greater than the corruption costs, the bribery, then you will do it. You will do it. You just do it. You or me. If you want to do a business, if you want to make money, you will do it. And that is what businessmen used to be. Right? But it helped the development of the economy. Don't forget it. It helped the development of the economy because you have the business. Otherwise, maybe every time, if nobody pay for the bribery, then never you can win a bill. You never can win a bid. So there will be no business at all without corruption.
So real.
So real?
Real.
Oh, real. Yeah, it's very real.
Because the last 6 months ago, I had a scandal with the Siemens scandal. And was discovered the last 30 years.
That's 30 years? Yeah.
All contracts for publicly contracts for government and abroad, all of them was made by corruption or illegal ways. Under in the Europe, United States, South America, in the last 30 years.
So,
At the department
yeah.
specialized in corruption and bribery for presidents, government, local.
Yeah. So it happens everywhere. It happens everywhere if, as I mentioned, if the corruption is an effective way to do the business, then it happens everywhere. So it's normal. Unless you can provide another scheme to replace the corruption. Usually, corruption is very effective.
Is there a relationship between corruption and inflation?
Why?
Is there a relationship between corruption?
I never heard of it. Because there may be positive relationship, maybe negative. There's no clear relationship. Yeah. Why do you think is that it should be a relationship? Yeah. Try to explain why.
That's what I'm just trying to reason.
Yeah.
Doesn't it sort of bring up the costs? If your costs are higher than real inflation? How do you explain the 3,400% inflation when the KMT came in 1945?
It's nothing to do with corruption. Corruption just have the business down, and then your profit. You used to be nothing, okay? Because actually the price still remains the same, but under this price you have a profit, okay? You have profit, okay? And this profit, you have part of it becomes corruption costs. You earn less, but part of it becomes corruption costs. But the price still remains the same. Okay, corruption is just a part of your profits. Part of your profit out of your pocket. Redistribute from your pocket to officials' pocket. That's it. And the price still remains the same. So it used to be you share the profits with the officials by bribery. Okay, and therefore, from here it also tell you the largest amount, you can actually calculate the corruption cost. The largest amount that you will pay for the corruption is equal to what? To your total profits. Right? Right? So by our argument, actually, the social cost for the corruption, the upper bound of the social cost for the corruption equal to the profit of the firms. If the cost is great, larger than the profits, then no one wants to bribe. No one wants to do the corruption. Because cost is greater than the benefits. But usually you share the profits under corruption arrangement. Okay, you pay part of your profit to bribe the officials. That's the usual case. Right? Okay? So if that's the case, then you can still have the price remain intact. Okay? Okay. Any?
Is there any connections between our FDI and industrialization? And which one is the...
Pardon me? You mean our FDI and what? Deindustrialization? Yeah, I will talk about this using Taiwan examples. Because Taiwan is an example, we keep our we have a huge our investment in China. Will that cause the hollowing out of Taiwanese industries? That's a very major argument that we have in the recent years. Okay, especially from the DPP's point of view. Okay, and we will look about this. Hopefully, I think definitely today. Okay, because that's the last day of our course. Okay, I hope through this discussion of foreign direct investment, you have enough knowledge for the argument of foreign direct investment and what's the likely effects and what determines the foreign direct investment, the flow of the foreign direct investment. Here you can see that this is the foreign direct investment as a percentage of the domestic fixed capital formations. Okay. So in the 60s, you can see the 60s it's about just only 2%, and then in the early 60s, 6%, and actually in the 1970s, it's already 10%, about 11%, which means that 11% of the capital formation, okay, were from the foreign direct investment. So they actually reached about 10% gap for the domestic capital formation. So it indeed provides some of this purpose. And of course, in that particular period, it also have a massive, here is another story, okay, we end the foreign direct investment. Regarding about the structural change in 1970s is that you observe a massive rural-urban migrations. Another characteristic in the 70s is a massive rural-urban migrations. Okay, industrialization also together with urbanizations. Right? We have the structural change of the industries increased from 20 to 40%. Okay, that's the industrialization process. Okay, and moving from agriculture sector to manufacturing sectors, the surplus laborers. Moving from agriculture to industry sector. That's the industrialization process. But however, you also observe a massive rural-urban migration from rural area to urban areas. Between 65 to 73, the annual growth rate of labor leaving agriculture and the labor returning to agriculture is average 4 to 5%. And in this 8 years period, the migration from the rural sector was the most rapid in Taiwan's entire economic history. Okay? So a massive rural-urban migration, this is so clear. No? This is a survey in Taichung, okay, in the middle part of Taiwan, 68 and 67 and 68. And it's an interview, okay, the survey conducted by an interview is 321 Taiwanese, male, aged between 23 to 42. Okay, and the registered moved to Taichung City, from one of the 4 surrounding counties, so from rural area to Taichung City in the 60s, 70s, and the age between the 23 to 42. So these are male and at the prime age. Okay. And here, this interview, among these 370s, the immigrants and the non-immigrants are roughly comparable, okay, with respect to their origin. What's the sound? Alarm, huh? And you can see that this is a percentage of migrants and non-migrants. And you can see this is for the migrants, and this is for the non-migrants. And you can see that this is classification by their age. Okay? For those, you can see that for the number in here, non-migrants. Okay? Age 20 and 32. Okay? Okay. So you can see that for a non-migrant, they will remain. Sometimes we call this stayer. Okay, they will stay in their current status, and these are movers, Okay, so you can see it's quite different for the stayers. Okay, the all ages they remain a higher percentage remain stayers. So when you are getting old, you are likely to stay. You don't want to move as you're getting older. Okay? But for the movers, for those who migrate, it is the younger people who actually have higher percentage to move than the old aged people. So when you are young, you are more intent to move. So this is consistent with our intuition, right? When you are getting old, you like to stay in the current status. But it is those young people who actually move, who like to move, because their migration costs is lower. So you can measure this actually from the migration cost point of view. The higher the migration cost incurred by the people, by the person, the lower the opportunity to move. Okay, so migration cost here is lower for young age mover. Therefore, they move. Okay, and for looking at the educations, then you can also see that primary education, this is junior graduate or higher. So a less education, a less educated worker and the more educated worker. And you will see that it makes no difference for the non-migrants. But for the migrant, for the mover, you will see for the stayer, it doesn't make difference. But for the stayer, actually, it is these primary graduates who has greater capacity to move than the more educated one. Which means that for a mover, more educated workers are less intended to move. And for the less educated workers, they are intended to move. Those ones, because the migration cost again, for the less educated, the opportunity cost is lower. For a more educated worker, actually, they may find a better job already in existing positions. For the less educated worker, the opportunity cost is lower. Therefore, they also, the migration cost will be lower. Okay? So here they're showing you that economic reasons also explain the migration motivations. And it is migration costs that are important to determine these migrations. Okay, so you can see that opportunity cost is lower for all the migration costs is lower for the young and less educated workers. Okay? Okay, we'll skip this. I will skip this. Okay. And the last one is during this particular period in the 60s, the growth with the equities, and early 70s, growth with equities. This is the traditional Kuznets curve that we observe. Here is per capita income on the horizontal axis. And there is the Gini coefficient, it's the index. Okay, it's the index for the income inequality. The greater the values, okay, the greater the inequality, the extent of the inequality. Okay, did I? Okay, this is the so-called Gini coefficient. Okay, you have percentage income recipients. Okay, percentage income recipients. Okay, this is the bottom one, bottom 40s, and then you have the top 20s in this area, right? So the percentage of income recipients. And here is the percentage of income. Okay? So here actually the income recipient as the population. Okay? You can say percentage of population. Here is the percentage of their income. Okay? And the diagonal line, the 45 degrees now in the diagonal line is 100%, 100%. In the row that I didn't get the rectangular option. Okay? It should be a rectangular. Okay? 100%, okay, therefore, this 45 degree line, any point right on this 45 degree line is that the percentage of population is equal to the percentage of income. Therefore, it's completely equalized distribution, right? So if you have a point line on this, then it's a complete equalized distribution. But usually, in reality, it's not the case. In reality, you can trace out this percentage of population with respect to their income. For example, you have 20%, 20% of people only earn 2% of the population of the income. Then you will find a point here. Okay? And then you have the other 40% earn about 10% of the income. Then you can put a point here. So you can trace out
those percentage of population with respect to their income. Then you get a curve, right? That is called Lorentz curve. Okay, that's called Lorentz curve. And the Gini coefficient, by definition, it is equal to the area of A, that's the shared area, the area between Lorentz curve and the 45-degree line. And the area A is divided by area B, A plus B, not A divided by B.
A divided by A plus B. Yeah, the other one. Okay. Good. Okay, A divided by A plus B. I can put it on here. A divided by A plus B. That's the Gini coefficient. So the greater the A area, the bigger the A area is greater, then the higher the income inequality, right? So the Gini coefficient is the longer, higher income coefficient. Higher Gini coefficient means the higher the inequality, right? Okay, and in the extreme case, what kind of extreme case? 99% of people earn nothing. The last one earn everything. Right? Not this vertical line. Then you have the area A equal to A plus B because B equal to 0. That's the extreme case. In that case, Gini coefficient equal to 1. In the case that these lines coincide with degree line, then A area is equal to 0. Then Gini coefficient is equal to 0. Therefore, Gini coefficient is a number between 0 and 1. 0 means completely equalized. 1 means extremely unequal. Completely unequalized. Okay, and a number between them. And therefore, you can observe, you can calculate this over time. Put every year, you calculate this distribution every year. Then you can trace out a curve called, you can trace out and to see the changes. And usually you find this so-called Kuznets curve, which means that as the per capita income improves, as the economy develops, per capita income improves. You observe at the very beginning, you observe increase in income inequality. The Gini coefficient becomes higher. And after you reach a certain point, as the capital income reaches a certain point, then Gini coefficient starts to decline. That is what observed by the Simon Kuznets. Also known as Nobel Prize. Simon Kuznets is also the father of the national income. So this is what we observe in the so-called Gini coefficient. But in terms of Taiwan, you see that this is the income distribution. Okay, the bottom 20%. This is the top 20% here, and it's top 5%, top 90%. Okay. So bottom 1% only earn 1.7, but in 1993 to 1991 it already earned 9%. So you can see this improvement. And the top 25 and top 5%, for example, 32.7, but not the same drop to 13%. And we can calculate this income Gini coefficient, and you can see the Gini coefficient should drop from 0.56 to 0.28. So you can see the drop of income distribution. And we can also measure this inequality by top 20% divided by the bottom 20%. That is also another measure for income inequality. Top 20 divided by bottom 20%. And we can see this number also decline. Okay, and this number is pretty high in 53. And we can see that as the economy especially after the opening up of the economy, this more equalized income distribution. Just wait a second, let me finish this. And here is two measures for Gini coefficient and the top
divided by 190% income, you can see that this number dropped. Okay? And this number also dropped during the 60s and 70s. Of course, after 80s, then it starts to decrease. Okay? But as I mentioned, in this year, that's the golden year of Taiwan economy, so-called the rapid economic growth rate of Taiwan, you can see that actually we have improving income distribution.
So it's growth with equity in the East early rapid economic development, and that is contrary to the Kuznets curve argument. Okay? Yes.
So when you're talking about the Kuznets curve, one of the reason would be the people migrating between why the inequality is rising. Is that correct?
It's not migration. It's the increase in income level.
Yes, obviously you're getting the higher employment is from the industrial sector. People were getting higher employment now between the forces as in rural as in migration.
Yeah.
So in fact, that one reason why you have this inequality is because people are moving. So you're talking about 60 or 70 or 80. Well, would be in the 1960s. When you're talking about the inequality increasing.
Yeah.
And then you will reach the point.
So you look like this, right?
Yeah, and then
But that's not the case.
okay, so then it would be
That actually increase, as I just showed you. Actually, we have a decrease. Here is very clear. Decrease in income. Right? Here is income, this is going to decrease. Okay? And as the economy goes up, right? You can see here, because this is actually over time, Taiwan's income per capita increases over time. Okay, so you put the income in here, also give you the same argument. Okay, so it's improvement in income distribution, not worsening in income distribution.
okay, so what would be the reason for the inequality in income distribution?
Oh yeah, yeah. Let me finish this, and I will do more later. Another one is to classify the GDP into two categories. One is the labor income. The total income into two parts. One is labor income, and the other is capital revenue. Okay? The capital revenue is the income for the capitalists. Okay? And labor income, of course, is the income for the majority workers. So you can see that the share of labor income, that's the red line, okay, actually improving over time. Then the share of capital revenue actually declined, starting from 50. So you can see that as the economy develops, that also tells you that the economic benefits of growth actually went to majority of working class. It goes to labor, not to the capitalists. As the usual case that we observe, it is the capitalists who earn huge profits, but they at the same time help the economy develop. That's the usual case. The uneven growth hypothesis. But that is not the case in here. It's a kind of trade-off. Okay, you have to help certain minority of group develop first. That's the industry sectors. And then it trickles down to majority of people. And that's the usual case for Kuznets hypothesis. As the economy develops, usually you increase the income inequality because you have certain group of people develop first. Okay? But it's not the case in Taiwan. We are more equalized income distribution. And that's the question we ask. Reasons for equalizing income distribution. First one is the most important one that I have described it. Land reform in the early 50s and the late 40s. Land reform can be considered as an important institutional change in Taiwan. It helped. It provides the right incentive for the farmers and the peasants to have their own land, therefore increase the labor productivity in the agricultural sectors. Okay, and land reform can be considered as a kind of ownership change, right? From minority of landlord to majority of farmers and peasants. So it's a kind of income redistribution from small minority group to majority group. Therefore, it improves the income distribution because it's an income redistribution. But not only redistribution, it generates incentive to increase the labor productivity in agricultural sectors. That's another benefit. Okay, and as I also mentioned, it also has a political purpose. Not only economically, politically, it's also in the interest of the ruling parties because it wins the support of the majority workers from this reform. And it has this political reason for doing this. But however, in economics, that's a great achievement. Okay, I mentioned this before in our class, why it is so successful in Taiwan. But it may not be coined or regenerated in other economies. It has some specific environment. We discussed about this. And the other thing is the outward trade policy, oriented trade policy, opening up the economies. Okay, and the focus on labor-intensive industries. Labor-intensive means that create a lot of job opportunity for the working class. And at the same time, it developed labor-intensive industry and also the small and medium-sized enterprises. Because labor-intensive, therefore, you don't need a lot of capital investment. And you don't need high skill and high technology or sophisticated technology involved in the production process. Therefore, you can form a kind of family factories. It's usually small and medium-sized enterprises. Even under 5, you can form 5 workers, and then you can have factories. And that kind of small and medium-sized enterprises. So these are all together generates job opportunity for majority of people, and also increase the employment rate and lower the unemployment rate. And economic profit shared by all the workers because they all find a job and earn earnings for them. And because labor intensive, therefore the wage gap is, the wage differential across different workers is actually minimal because it's labor intensive. It's not very high skill involved. Okay, so the majority of people earn the similar wages. And therefore, help equalize the income distribution. Okay? Am I answering the question? Okay. Any question or comments? Yes. And also this one, education. Okay, I just finished a paper. I think Kim will have in my paper regarding about education and social mobility in Taiwan. Okay, and education also. Okay, as I mentioned, we have a good education and social human capital, and that also helps the social mobility. And social mobility, improvement in social mobility, therefore it helps the income distribution. Okay, and here is some kind of progressive tax to try to redistribute income from the high income to the low income. Okay, for the urbanization, and but it can be the other way around. Okay, so this one is not so clean. Okay, but I definitely will focus at least these 4 factors. But why I'm pretty confirmed because I have a paper research on this one. Also confirmed the argument that this is very, very important role for social mobility, upward social mobility. Therefore, equalize the income distribution. Okay, yes. Back to your current questions. Income will be close to what? More equalized means that the Gini coefficient will drop. Okay? Gini coefficient is a number between 0 and 1. So the declining of the Gini coefficient implied improving of the income distribution. Okay? And the increasing of the Gini coefficient implied the worsening of the income distribution. Okay, here is actually important result that I found from my recent research. Education can be an important means for social mobility based on Taiwan's empirical study. We find that father's social status and the son's social status has a strong correlation. Okay, and there's positive correlation. Okay, so if your father is upper level, upper class, usually their son also tend to be upper class. Okay, it's a strong positive correlation. Okay, that is usually the case in all other societies too. And education, however, determines substantially the choice of occupation and social status, which means that education, well, receiving better education actually did help, has substantial help what classification of your social status will be. Okay? But the important thing is that social status also affects strongly of individual education. That's the problem. That's the problem. Okay, the first two is quite natural. Okay? But the important finding on there is also that usually, okay, higher upper class tend to receive or have a greater advantage of receiving higher education at the same time. Okay? Therefore, in a modern democratic society, we are leads to an important conclusion that social status can dominate or manipulate most of the education resources by receiving higher education, therefore maintain or retain their social status. Not through heritage, that's in the ancient time, but through what? Through education. Through education. Okay? So the implication is upper class dominates education resources to maintain its social class. Okay? To maintain its social class. Therefore, an important implication from there is also a better education system is to provide an equal opportunity to gain education regardless of their social status. Regardless of their social status. And we find an important piece of evidence that students from upper class family, okay, they tend to perform better, or they tend to have a greater chance to enter into upper class. Yes. And what is they receive higher education. Let me repeat it again. For those students from non-upper class, they tend to have a greater advantage or opportunity to enter the upper class than the children from upper class. If they receive higher education. Which means that if non-upper class, children from non-upper class receive higher education, then they are more competitive, or they have greater chance to be an upper class than the children from upper class. Receive the same higher education. Okay? And that is a piece of evidence support that we should provide equal opportunities for all children regardless of their social class. Okay? That's the finding of the paper. Yeah. I try to finish it. Okay, with 2 more slides. So let me finish this and then we take a break.
Yes, I have your paper. I have to read it. And that point you just made is the last sentence of your abstract. government is made up of upper class people. Is that a realistic goal to ask the upper class to
but government is not even dominated by the upper class, but the government policy is actually dominated by the Congress, which is not upper class, which actually represents the majority of people. So in a democratic society, we can channels to decide what kind of education policy by people, not by government.
What definition of upper class are you using? Does that seem like a big part of the argument?
Yeah, if we say that I have a class certification for the upper class, and usually either hiring officers or professionals, those type of, or the executive officers, those type of people are classified as the upper class by occupation of work. Okay. Any further discussion?
Let me finish this two slides and then we can take a break. What have we learned? Okay, agricultural revolution is a precondition for industrialization. Okay, like we have before. For a country with limited resources, opening trade is an effective means to enlarge the market size and develop emerging industries. That is what we learned from Taiwan. Labor-intensive industry is good for the economy to create more job opportunities and also to absorb surplus labor from agricultural sector. And it is conducive to the equalizing of income distribution by developing labor-intensive industries. Okay. And further industrialization is required in the long run, continuous improvement in the technology to create dynamic, competitive advantage so that more and more technology-sophisticated goods can be produced by the economy. So as in the change of industry structure toward more technology-oriented industry structure. Okay, from our structure, income, from our industry structure and also from our trade, pattern of our trade, it seems to also imply that further industrialization is required in the long run to keep upgrading the industry. Okay, and in order to do that, of course, you have to improve your human capital. You have to invest in the infrastructures. Okay, and for small and medium-sized enterprises, then you have to form a kind of national innovation system designed by the government to do the key and appropriate technology development. And then transfer those technology to the small and medium-sized enterprises. And that will fulfill this argument of increasing, moving up the technology ladders and producing more sophisticated goods over time. Okay? Okay, that's, I have to, so any questions? I believe we have a record here. It's already about 100 minutes. So